Hello and welcome. In this short video, I'd like to talk about how to get a work permit and plus residence permit with the right to work in China. As most of you know, our company is engaged in this corporate legal consultancy in China. We are based in Shanghai. We provide different range of corporate services, including company formation, liquidation, structuring, special licenses, and sometimes when our clients would like to get work permit and residence permit and come to China, run their company, we also assist them. So I'm going to discuss what are the requirements and also talk about if you don't qualify, what you can do and what are the options. So let's start from the most common option, which is category B work visa in China. Actually, it's when we say work visa in China, like we discussed before, we mean that work permit and then residence permit. So combined, in common language, we say work visa. Actually, it's not. So when we say work visa, it consists of these two concepts. One is work permit, which is a plastic card, and second one is residence permit. Together, they're work visa. So how can you get this? Now, number one requirement is obviously you need to be able to provide minimum bachelor's degree for category B work permit. Because this, like I said, the work permit is divided into, it comes in three forms like category A, B, and C. Most common one is category B. So we're going to discuss that. Minimum bachelor's degree. That degree should be from recognized university. The concept of recognized I discussed in the previous video. You can go and watch that because the university must be recognized. Otherwise, your degree is not acceptable here. So once you get this recognized degree, a minimum bachelor's degree, you need to get that apostilled. Okay, in the country where it's issued. For example, if you're from the US and then you studied in the UK, then your apostille should go through, should be done in the UK, okay? Sometimes there are, apostille offices, sometimes notary offices, maybe they can do it in different countries as well, but most likely you will have to contact an apostille office where the degree is issued, okay, in the same country. So just to make sure that, you follow these requirements. So once it's apostilled, you need to translate it through a translation agency into Chinese. So that's number one, degree, apostille, translate into Chinese. Number two requirement, you have to provide minimum 2 years work experience, and work experience should be full-time paid, and of course, it must be related to the job that you are applying for here in China. So obviously, if you are applying through your own company in China, you are the company executive. So your previous job experience, work experience should be related to this executive position. Okay, it involves running the company, making executive decisions, and basically running a business. So your previous work experience should be related to that. For example, just for illustration purposes, if you have work experience from, restaurant or cafe, and where you are a waiter or chef, and in China you form a company, you apply for work permit, this category B, as company executive, then your work experience doesn't relate here. It's not related at all. So in this scenario, the immigration is going to ask you some questions, okay? And then when they ask questions, you have to be able to demonstrate or explain somehow that this work experience is related, because otherwise you will get denied. So that's one thing about work experience. And work experience letter should come in a headed paper of the previous company with all their contacts and all the information, what kind of job it was, the salary you received, and obviously the responsibilities you held. And of course, when we're talking about 2 years, obviously it has to mention the time frame from 2 dates exactly. And a bunch of other information based on international standard, basically, because China doesn't have this kind of template or something, but it has to be based on international standard. So the letter can be issued directly into 2 languages if, of course, your previous company agrees to that, meaning that you can have a translation company draft it for you, like in English and Chinese at the same time, and then you can go to the previous company, ask the HR manager to sign and stamp for you. Okay, but if the company doesn't agree to that, they can directly write it in English, and you go to the translation company, translate the English into Chinese. It doesn't have to be apostilled. The next requirement for work permit, category B again, is the office space that you have to provide from the city where your company is registered in China. For example, it can be in Shanghai, it can be Yiwu, Guangzhou, etc. Wherever your company is registered and wherever you're applying for this category B work permit, your office space should be there, and it must be physical office space. I keep repeating the same things over and over again in many different videos, but people still ask, can I use my home as office? Because I don't need office. It doesn't really matter if you need office or not. It's just a requirement from the immigration. So it means that you must provide a rental agreement for your physical office. And sometimes I have come across with this. Sometimes immigration, they send people to check whether this office exists or not. If the office turns out to be virtual address or somebody else's address, then you can say goodbye to your visa application. And on top of that, maybe your application and your name will be blacklisted. So we don't really recommend, playing around with this. So physical office space. And there's no size requirement as well when we're talking about consulting and trading companies. However, the size of the office matters in different types of companies. Okay, so we like case by case basis, we can discuss those, but consulting and import and export trading company. So because when we say trading company in China, we 100% mean import and export, not like stock trading. So for these 2 types of companies, the size of the office does not matter, as long as it's minimum 1-person private office. And also, sometimes people ask me, like, can I use shared office space where I have a desk, for example, a hot desk? That's not recommended. Previously, maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago, before the pandemic, that was okay. But even back then, the immigrations, they kind of, already noticed that most of the people were taking advantage of this loose kind of policy, where they opened the company, sponsored their work visa, used this very cheap 500 yuan, converted like not even $100 a month, hot desk, like a shared office space, and get a visa and then go and become an English teacher or something. And immigration perfectly knows that, of course, this kind of games. Now, it's not recommended. Sometimes, very rarely, you can get by, but it's a matter of when, okay? It's a matter of when they say no, you cannot use that, all right? So that's why what we recommend is minimum, you need to find private office, at least that can have 1 person with the door and lock. You can lock and you can put, actually you have to put your company sign beside the door on the wall. So it has to say that this blah blah company, and this is the office number, and this is the door of this company's office, all right? So in that case, yes, that's perfectly fine. And also, when we're talking about the prices, so what is the minimum rental price for the office that you have to aim for? I always say that no less than 2,000 yuan, Chinese yuan. If you go below that, again, we have come across with these situations. Immigration does not like it. They say that, oh, what kind of business is this? You don't have funding, you don't know anything, it's not okay for us. So obviously, because China is changing the requirements, like unofficial requirements day by day, they obviously want solid companies or people with solid plans who have some sort of financial ability. So therefore, they would like to have somebody at least who can afford 2,000 yuan a month minimum. If you go below that, then the application is not going to be very strong. So beside the office now, the apartment rental. So you need to be able to provide that apartment rental agreement. And again, there's no actually minimum, price for it. It's okay. Even if you're renting a room in shared apartment, that's also fine, as long as you can provide rental agreement. And if we go back a little bit for the office requirement, because they are related, sometimes we get this question, can I use my apartment as office? The answer to this is no, you cannot. Most of the time you cannot, unfortunately. But however, like I mentioned in previous videos, there are some special types of buildings in China which are considered actually residential/commercial. So for example, this office right now, we have this 350 square meter office here. This type of building, in some parts of the building, there are apartments. So it's a special building. If you manage to find such special building, then you can rent an apartment and you can use that for office and apartment, because the type of building is special building. It's both residential and commercial, because it says in that the ownership documents of the building, it literally says that. And immigration knows that as well. So I actually firsthand experienced it. Many years ago, I was renting an apartment in that kind of special building. So I went through it myself, okay, the first-hand experience. It's not based on some opinion. So yeah, if that's the case, you can mix apartment and office. That's fine. Now, we mentioned rental agreement for your office and apartment. Then last thing that you have to provide is from the place, from the city where you're applying for this work permit, you need to go through this medical check. There are designated hospitals in China specifically for immigration purposes. So you need to go to one of these designated hospitals, go through medical check for visa, and it takes around 7 days to get that report. Once you get that report, combined with your company documents, obviously, and all these requirements that I counted here, mentioned, you go to the Labor Department. Labor Department, it should be in the same city where the company is registered, in Shanghai, for example. And Shanghai has all these districts, so you need to go even narrower. So which district is the company is registered? So you need to go to that district. Then you go to this Labor Department, apply for the labor account for your company. Once it's open, then online process for the work permit card itself. So at this moment, you will most likely need professional help. Otherwise, it's so extremely hard, because we had clients who are perfect in Chinese. They are fluent in Chinese, but they could not manage the online process themselves. So you can either hire a company like us. I keep mentioning our company is not engaged in visa, but we have a partner company who handles the visa applications for all of our clients. So we are happy to link you with them, provided that we register the company for you, and they will assist you with the online process. So online process takes around 5 days to get this work permit card. And once again, we're talking about category B, most common work permit card. So once you get that, the next step will be you apply for residence permit based on this work permit. So basically, this residence permit gives you the right to work for your company only, okay? And right after you get this card, immediately on the same day, you can, in the same building actually, usually, you go to the immigration department and submit all of your documents for the residence permit sticker. So this is the sticker basically, which is stamped on your passport. And it takes around 7 days as well to get that sticker. So that's it. So this is how you apply for work permit in China in 2024. Now is almost end of July, almost August 2024. So all this information is true for this time. Maybe it will change in the future, but we will keep doing videos. Now, for those of you might be interested, the requirements for category A and category C types of work visas, I quickly count. Requirements basically the same. Let's start with category A. For category A, the diploma is not necessary, and also, very interestingly, criminal background check is also not necessary. So diploma, degree, the academic degree, minimum bachelor's, which I mentioned, is not required. And also, non-criminal background check, also not required. Very strange and interesting. However, category A work permit comes with financial responsibilities. Because in order to apply for this, the applicant should promise to the government that his or her monthly salary is going to be no less than 60,000 yuan per month. That is, a little bit closer to $10,000 a month. And that generates minimum 10,000 yuan personal income tax. Okay, so that is a promise. You promise to the government that this is the case. And initially they give you this work permit and you get your sticker as well, residence permit. And then your responsibility will be to keep that promise. If you don't keep it, however, also based on true story, based on true experience, we had this client who didn't keep his promise. And then the government makes him to pay all the taxes, okay? Otherwise, your name will be blacklisted. So this is how it works here. Again, this is based on true story. We had this client who went through this hell. And actually, instead of refusing to pay, he just, made up all the outstanding taxes and then kept his category A actually. He ended up keeping that category A because initially he didn't take it seriously, but he kept it at the end. He made all these payments anyway. So basically what they care mostly is not the salary itself most of the time, like 60,000, but that salary should be declared to the tax office so that you pay the personal income tax. This is what they care. They care about the personal income tax, which is 10,000 yuan every month to get this category A work permit. Now, category C. Category C is not really recommended. It's basically for fresh graduates from Chinese universities and who lack 2 years experience, okay? So 2-year work experience, they cannot provide it. So this is where, you can apply for category C. But of course, category C has some, downsides as well. It's also got some salary requirements, but the salary requirements differ from city to city. In Shanghai, for example, your salary should be no less than 35,000 yuan every month. So for category C, that is the requirement. Again, in the beginning, you promise. If you don't keep that promise, you're risking your name to be blacklisted, or they will make you pay again those outstanding taxes anyway. So that's it, guys. So A, B, C. Most common, therefore, is the B, category B, which is very straightforward, and they don't really care about the salary amount as long as this makes sense. Because, for example, what they calculate, I discussed this before, they calculate basically your living expenses in the city where the company is registered and where you are applying from. So in Shanghai, for example, they calculate the average expenses for you, and of course your salary should make sense. So when you are providing this labor agreement between your company and yourself as company executive, they will look at the salary amount. So if you write down, for example, 5,000 or 6,000 yuan, it doesn't make sense, because in Shanghai you spend a lot, more than that. So 5,000 yuan is not even enough sometimes to rent your apartment here, and let alone your office, for example. So the recommended amount for salary for category B is around 20,000. 15, 20,000 is fine, okay? Sometimes you can go below than that, but you might have some questions from the immigration and you have to be able to explain them. For example, like I mentioned, maybe you're renting an apartment, not an apartment, a room from an apartment. shared apartment. So in that case, you can say that, well, I pay 2,000 yuan for my room, and I don't have any other expenses, so like 15,000 or 10,000 even is enough for me. So when they ask a question, basically you need to be able to explain. That's it. This is what matters. And this is how you get your visa, work visa. When we say work visa again, we mean this work permit card and residence permit card with the right to work for your company only. This part is also important. Once you get this work permit, you're not free to go anywhere and work in China. In China, actually, like many countries, actually, it's not news. For example, if you don't have information about the US work visa, it works exactly the same way. So when you get the work visa, it's attached to one company. You're not free to go around and work for any company you want. Same thing in China. You have this work permit and you can only work for your company, which is the sponsor of this work permit. That's it. You cannot do part-time work. You cannot do like side work, etc. No, none of that is allowed. So you have to be very careful on that, because otherwise the tax office at some point they will start reporting some irregularities to the immigration, and it might lead to questions obviously from the immigration, and that's not going to be a good experience for you. So guys, once again, it's Jasur from JR & Firm. We're based in Shanghai, already so many years, 13 years, providing the same services: company formation, liquidation, structuring and restructuring, obtaining all these special licenses for foreign companies. So if you have any questions, let us know. And if you need assistance definitely with company formation in China, let us know. We will be glad to hear from you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.